Commander Zethkar adjusted his mandibles in what passed for amusement among the hegemony. Through the crystalline viewport of his flagship, Earth hung like a blue marble against the cosmic dark, primitive, defenseless, and utterly beneath his notice. "Preliminary scans complete, Commander," his tactical officer reported, her serpentine form coiled around the neural interface. "The inhabitants possess crude kinetic weapons, chemical explosives, and what appears to be early fusion technology. No energy shields, no plasma cannons, no quantum disruptors." Zethkar's laugh was a chittering sound that echoed through the bridge. Around him, his crew of various alien species joined in the mockery. The hegemony had conquered 1,000 worlds, each more advanced than this backwater planet. Their energy weapons could slice through starship hulls like paper. Their plasma shields could deflect anything these humans might throw at them. "What do the humans call their primary weapons?" Zethkar asked, accessing the cultural database, with a thought. "Guns, sir. Metal projectiles propelled by chemical combustion. They also use missiles, essentially flying explosives." More laughter rippled across the bridge. The Vrex navigator's tentacles quivered with mirth. "Chemical combustion. How charmingly primitive." "And their space defenses?" Zethkar inquired. "Minimal orbital installations. A few satellites with basic sensors. No orbital defense platforms to speak of." Zethkar rose from his command throne, his exoskeleton gleaming under the bridge's bioluminescent panels. "Signal the fleet. We'll make quick work of this. Standard pacification protocol. Disable their communication networks. Destroy military installations and prepare for ground assault. This shouldn't take more than a few hours." The hegemony Armada consisted of 300 vessels, from massive dreadnoughts bristling with energy weapons to sleek fighters that could dance between defensive fire. Each ship was protected by overlapping energy shields that had never been breached by kinetic weapons. They had faced railguns before, primitive magnetic accelerators that fired solid projectiles, laughable against their advanced defenses. As the fleet descended toward Earth's atmosphere, Zethkar felt the familiar thrill of conquest. Another primitive world would fall before the hegemony's might. The first salvo came from Earth's orbital installations, crude missiles that his point. Defense systems should have vaporized instantly, but something was wrong. The missiles weren't exploding against his shields, they were passing right through. "What in the void?" Zethkar began, then felt his flagship shudder as the missiles struck the hull directly. The missiles aren't registering on our energy sensors," his tactical officer reported, confusion evident in her voice. "They're not energy-based, so our shields aren't stopping them." The realization hit Zethkar like a physical blow. Their energy shields were designed to deflect energy weapons and charged particles. But these humans were using purely kinetic weapons, dumb matter moving at incredible speeds. The shields simply didn't recognize them as threats. More missiles streaked up from Earth's surface. Not the crude chemical rockets they had detected, but something else entirely. These moved with impossible speed and precision, adjusting course mid-flight with tiny thruster burns. "Evasive maneuvers," Zethkar ordered, but it was too late. The first wave of missiles struck his outer ships. Tungsten rods traveling at relativistic speeds punched through hulls like needles through fabric. The kinetic energy was devastating, pure physics unleashed without the complexity of energy weapons. "How are they achieving such velocities?" the navigator demanded. "Unknown, sir. Our sensors can barely track them." What the hegemony didn't understand was that humanity had taken their primitive kinetic weapons and refined them to perfection. Mass drivers hidden on the lunar far side launched projectiles using magnetic acceleration. Orbital railgun platforms, disguised as communications satellites, fired tungsten penetrators at significant fractions of light speed. And the missiles were beautiful in their simplicity. Humans had learned that the universe was ultimately about matter and energy. While other species pursued exotic energy weapons, humans had mastered the art of throwing rocks, really, really fast rocks. The second wave launched from Earth's surface. These weren't missiles at all, but what humans called kinetic kill vehicles. Solid, masses of depleted uranium and tungsten accelerated by linear motors buried in mountains. They struck Zethkar's dreadnoughts with the force of nuclear weapons, but without the electromagnetic pulse that might have been deflected. "Sir, we're losing ships across the fleet." Zethkar watched in horror as his mighty vessels, each one, a triumph of hegemony engineering, were torn apart by chunks of metal moving at incomprehensible speeds. The humans weren't even using explosives. They didn't need to. At these velocities, matter itself became the weapon. "Return fire, all weapons." Energy beams lanced down toward Earth's surface, striking mountains and installations. But for every human position they destroyed, 10 more revealed themselves. The planet bristled with hidden launchers. What the hegemony had mistaken for primitive, mining operations were actually mass driver installations. Every mountain could be a weapon. Every satellite was a potential kinetic launcher. The third wave came from the asteroid belt. Rocks, asteroids that the humans had somehow moved into Earth's vicinity and accelerated to tremendous speeds. Not sophisticated, but utterly devastating when a mountain-sized chunk of nickel iron struck a hegemony cruiser at orbital velocity. "Commander, hull breaches on deck 7 through 15. We're losing atmosphere." Zethkar's flagship groaned around him as another projectile punched through their armor. These humans hadn't bothered with elegant energy weapons or exotic matter. They had simply perfected the art of making things move very, very fast and hit very, very hard. "All ships, retreat to jump distance," Zethkar ordered, his pride dissolving into survival instinct. But the humans had anticipated this too. More kinetic interceptors rose from Earth, targeting his engines and jump drives with surgical precision. The hegemony's energy shields, designed to stop the sophisticated weapons of advanced civilizations, were useless against simple matter in motion. As his flagship's hull buckled under another impact, Zethkar finally understood. The humans hadn't failed to develop advanced weapons. They had perfected the most fundamental weapon of all. In a universe governed by physics, nothing was more deadly than mass multiplied by velocity squared. The last thing he saw before his ship's atmosphere vented into space was Earth, still hanging serene and blue against the stars. Behind it, the wreckage of his mighty armada drifted in slowly expanding clouds of debris. The humans had been laughed at for their primitive weapons. They weren't laughing anymore.